Hi, everyone. I am Victor, sometimes also known as Vister Reeser.
And I'm Jonathan Vergara.
And this is Indies Nuts, the podcast where we play and review newly released indie games so you don't have to, unless they're good. Today, we have a very special episode we're bringing to you. We reached out to some fans and friends and random people who love games and asked them what were the best games of the 90s. That means from 1990 to 1999. And we took all of that information and it took us quite a bit of time. Jonna is a busy man. I am
Yep.
I'm less busy, but I'm in another country. I am a man. So, yes. Thank you. And we put all this information together, and I wanted to do it, everyone who helped us out justice. It took us a while to finally get this going, but I'm happy with what we're going to put together for you guys today. So the way this is going to work is we have a nice big old list. Everyone who gave us information and commented on why they love their suggestions so much. We're going to give everyone a shout out in today's podcast and go through those reasons. And then we're going to add our own feelings about each suggestion as well.
That is true. Or at least the ones that we've actually played. So the 90s thing came up because Victor had read an article about the best games in the 90s, and apparently the list was just butt, and so he thought we could do better than that. Also, the 90s are a really interesting time in gaming because there's just so many consoles that all hit during that time. Everything from you're still getting NES games to Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. I believe Virtual Boy was in there at some point. Dreamcast, PlayStation, Sega Saturn. Just you're all over the place with these.
I just learned today that the Sony PlayStation actually came out in 1994 in Japan. It's mind blown. Wow, that early? That's wild, you know?
Yeah, it's a crazy time in gaming. It was like the Wild West too. They're still figuring out how 3D graphics and joysticks and all of these things work during that time. So a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of companies taking risks, and I think you guys will see that in the diversity in this game list.
It's a great list. I have to say, it's a great list. So speaking of, let's go ahead and get to it. The first game on the list is Final Fantasy, and we're going to go by North American release date since both Jonathan and myself are from North America, and that's when we would have played them. But hey, we love fans from all over the world. Hopefully everybody who's watching this loves games from all over. Final Fantasy was released in 1990, starting us off, and the person who suggested this was the lovely Tom Williams, who says the 90s represented the pinnacle of the JRPG genre before they became all about cutscenes.
I would argue they became all about cutscenes once Final Fantasy 7 and 8 came out, which was very much in the 90s. But I get what you mean in this case. I think that the 90s were for sure a time when JRPGs took a lot of risks and there wasn't really an established formula. And I think you can see that in the Final Fantasy games, not just in Final Fantasy 1. Actually, I didn't know that Final Fantasy 1 came out that late, but just in Final Fantasies in general, there was so much that was different from game to game, from job classes to abilities to summons to cinematics to whatever they did with Final Fantasy 8. It was all over the place, right? So,
it was, dude.
But
and it was
in a good way.
West.
In a good way.
Yeah, I agree. And you have to break a lot of eggs to make a lot of omelets. And you played through all the Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, I've played through every single one.
All of them.
Final Fantasy 1 is a good one. It is in the middle of the list for me because it's dated, to be honest, and it's rough to go back to, but it does still have a lot of charm. And there's like a million different versions of it. So I don't think I've ever played the same version twice. I own it on NES. It's just off camera here. But I've played it in the remakes. I've played it in mobile. I'm actually looking. I just got a Wonder Swan, and I'm thinking of trying to find the Wonder Swan Color and getting the Wonder Swan Color version of Final Fantasy. So.
Oh, that'd be wild. That would be wild. I mean, I want to know what's different. Let us know later, man. The next series that was brought up was Monkey Island, which was released on the PC. originally. We have Katie Maurer, who says, I love the puzzles and the dialogue. I have played all of them because I love the series so much. And Graham also threw this name out there. He's a big fan.
Yeah,
I know
for sure.
Your wife is a big fan of these
Yeah,
games,
my
right?
wife loves Monkey Island. And actually, before we started this, I've mentioned a number of times the Blue Wizard Project, the fundraiser that I did with my buddy Ian. One of the games that was selected for me to play was Monkey Island. I think that might have been my wife that picked that one. But I loved the game. I had never played it back in the day. I played the remade version that with the updated graphics. You can still go back to it, but I think this game totally holds up. The music alone, just the opening song, it gets stuck in my head at least once a week.
I played it once as a kid. I just remember being so confused. I couldn't do anything correctly. I think it was on one of my uncle's computers, and I was just, clicking through. It's like, oh, pirates, this looks so cool.
I probably got stuck a few times. I'm sure that I looked at a guide at some point, but it's definitely worth playing, and there's just a lot of quirkiness to it. Like, I remember one of the things that really stuck out to me is that in the beginning of the game, Guybrush Threepwood, the main character, is talking about like skills that he has, and he mentions at one point that like he can hold his breath for 10 minutes. And later in the game, I think it's 10 minutes, it might be 5. Later in the game, there's a part where you're chained underwater and you're solving this puzzle, and there's no timer on the screen. But after that 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it was he said, he dies because that's been established as the canon. That's as long as he can hold his breath. So I actually didn't see that one. My wife told me about that later, but the game is full of little surprises like that are great.
Nice. The next series, Jonna, we had just finished the updated version of Battletoads that came out originally in 1991 for the NES, and it's a rare title. I did not like rare as in hard to find, but
as
the
in
company Rare.
The company Rare.
I did not know they developed this game originally. Andrew Tuttle, thank you for the suggestion. He says, it's crazy hard, and that's what is good about it. And I have to say, I agree. The crazy difficulty is the fun, crazy, but so fun. You can beat up your friends, every time you get into a game in that series. Battletoads Double Dragon is great. The speeder bike stage where you cannot win no matter what. Oh my god. It's just such a nightmare.
I think Battletoads is a good game. I really enjoyed it. I played it a ton with my brothers when I was a kid. I own a copy of it now on my NES. Really excellent game, great arcade game. Like you said, the crossovers are really good. I think that it was the difficulty that put the game on the map. I think that if Battletoads didn't have that crushing difficulty, I don't know that it would have been as big as it was. And this was what like the Get Good game was before Dark Souls existed.
Oh yeah.
Battletoads.
Hands down. Like, that's why people talked about it. Oh, what? So-and-so's older brother beat Battletoads? No way. That's impossible.
Yeah. And side note, the new one gets a lot of flack. I know a lot of people hated it because of the art style or things. We, like Victor mentioned, we just played through it maybe like a week and a half ago. We finished it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an excellent game.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
It had a lot of really cool ideas. I think don't listen to the negative reviews. Give it a try yourself. See what you think about it. So
it was a blast. Yeah, it was great. It was great. That's it. Moving on. Streets of Rage. Okay, fantastic series released for the Mega Drive or the Genesis. In North America. Wow, dude, Streets of Rage is such a great beat 'em up. In 1991, this came out. John Georgie says, multiplayer. You steal people, you're stealing turkeys from your friends who you're playing with, and you have special moves in a beat 'em up that's amazing. Yeah, the music
that was
also
such a
kicks, dude.
Game changer. Yeah. Oh yeah, the music is still great in Streets of Rage.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Oh, what a great series.
Streets of Rage was my best friend back home's favorite, like one of his favorite games on the Genesis. So we played this countless times. I don't think I ever owned Streets of Rage, but I played it a bunch at his house. We played it when we were older, through completely legitimate means and enjoyed it a lot. And, the new one, Streets of Rage 4, is a throwback to those old ones. And it's it's just as good now as it was back in the day. So if you've not played it, it's top tier beat 'em up game. So
love it. Super Mario World, which also came out in the same month and year as Streets of Rage. Pretty interesting. Jamie Finn says, "Don't at me," so we won't. Dean Baker, thank you so much. You also suggested this game to us. I mean, I don't think we have to say too much about the game. It was a console seller for everybody at the time. I remember buying. We got the Super Nintendo when it was released for $199.99 with that commercial that came out with Super Mario All-Stars, an extra controller, and Super Mario World in a bundle. I remember opening the box.
What a great package! That's crazy.
Oh, I know. I just remember my brother and I just freaking out. You know, when we played, we opened it up. Oh yeah, I love Mario games. You know, and that is one of them. The secret level I remember beating the game. They're the dolphins at the end. And you're like, what? There's no dolphin platforms. What are you talking about? Oh, it's like, well, you only have 91 out of 100%, dude. That's because you didn't get the dolphin stage.
You didn't play the real stuff. Yeah.
Nice try.
You didn't play gnarly. You didn't play radical, dude. Yeah. Nice try. You didn't finish
secret stages and replay value.
Yeah, there was so much to discover in that game. It like even years later, I was still like, oh, you can do that. You can find that. And I will say Super Mario World isn't my favorite Mario game. I think Mario 3 and maybe Mario Galaxy are pretty high up on that list. Mario 3D Land as well. But if you argued that this was your favorite Mario, I'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah, I see it. It's a fantastic game.
100%. And a really interesting game coming out next on our list, Toe Jam and Earl. For the Sega Genesis, again, or Mega Drive, October 1991. I'm going to butcher this name, so I'm so sorry. Chewy Sen Thompsonson, if I typed that right, says, I like the first bit better for how unique it is, as opposed to Panic on Funkotron.
Yeah, Funkotron,
was the later game.
The second one. Yeah.
Such a unique concept, this game. I remember it was more fun to play when I was older. You know,
I remember using Game Genie to go to the island where you could drink with babes in hot tubs. Which didn't really seem kid appropriate, but it was there.
Right? Yeah, it's so silly and hilarious, you know?
Being chased by like just the most random of bad guys. It was what a weird game, but it just worked on so many levels. And I think both of them are great. I have a bit more of a soft spot for the second one, but I loved both of them. We rented this game maybe like 7 times. We never owned it, but we rented it all the time because we just had so much fun with it.
Next game on the list is Actraiser for the Super Nintendo, which also came out in 91. John Henry McGilligan says, played it in 95 and loved it. Actraiser is one of those games where there is a depth to it that I think it's really hard to not appreciate the creativity behind the design and the concept of the game. You know, from perspective, it's like, oh, this is 1991 and
ambitious. It's like 2 full games in one. Like It's crazy.
And a lot of games, including some more recently put on Nintendo Online for the Super Nintendo, weren't even one full game in one, you know? So it's like, whoa, mind blown.
That's true. You know? Yeah, if you guys have never played Actraiser, it is both a sim game and an action platformer in one. And also, Actraiser has some really good music in it as well.
Oh, yeah.
At least from what I remember. But I really enjoyed the game. The art style is really cool. It reminds me a lot of like D&D, like the D&D arcade games.
Yeah, for the platforming, it's
for the platforming cool. Sections. Yeah. Really cool game. Yeah.
One of my favorites of all time is next on the list, Street Fighter 2. This game really started me on the path of where I'm still going today, beating people up and getting my butt kicked in the in the digital and electronic world. For sometimes getting some pocket cash. It's not real people. It's not in the streets, but I know how to throw a Hadouken. Thank you so much for you. Brian Santos says, the one that started it all. No kid's house party was complete without a room full of kids calling next on the controller. Nice.
For sure.
I like
now,
it.
Now, the question is, did you play Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition? What were
you? Do you mean
Super
Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting, which is called Super
Yes, that's
Turbo,
the one I mean.
Which
that's
is the one that is the gold standard now for Street Fighter 2 competitive fighting, because I do own that one, if that's what you're asking.
The names in that game were so ridiculous.
I know, right? I also have a copy of just Street Fighter 2 Turbo, though.
This was actually the game. We had Super Street Fighter 2, just Super Street Fighter 2. And my dad, that is the only video game he would play with us, I think. That and Virtua Fighter 2. Those were the only games I've ever seen.
That's because your dad was ready to beat you down. He's like
he played his DJ. That was his name.
What? That's such a dad character, dude. Oh my god, that's so funny. That's so funny. Living vicariously through DJ. That's funny.
Like, I could be on this tropical island, but I got these 3 kids I gotta raise.
Got these kids. Dude, what if he was sitting at work? He's like, man, I could be DJ right now. You know? That's so funny. Oh, that's great.
All right. The mental image of it's great.
But anyway, dude, I know, right? Continue. I know, right? The next one is The Simpsons Barts Nightmare, which also came out in 92 for the Super Nintendo. Ash Shams. The Simpsons were just so much fun back then. You can't deny that logic. And there were a ton of Simpsons games.
Yeah, there were. There's like Bart versus the space somethings. I don't remember what it was. Like there was the arcade game. There were a ton. There were just seemed like there were like 20 of them. I don't know, but
the Simpsons arcade game was a like bowling alley skating rink, staple, right?
Staple. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That and like
every amusement park had it. But this one, I don't know if I've ever actually played this one.
Dude, I played it and it is hard, Jonna. It is
all
hard.
of them kind of blend together in my head at this point.
This game has like a lot of games at the time. Cool design, interesting. No descriptions on what you're supposed to do. Nothing at all. Until you lose and it says like game over, man, or something. I can't remember what Bart says, but
I think I played the one that I played. You had to like spray stuff with like purple paint. I think it was an NES game.
Okay, well, just a sec, sweetheart.
We got an intermission here.
We do. All right,
and we're back.
We're back. The next one is Ogre Battle, which came out in March 93 for the Super Nintendo. Bum Lee suggested this and says, a great mix of tactics on a map and group versus group fighting with a variety of units and nice artwork. All facts. It felt like your choices mattered. They did. That is true. That game is a early tactics game, right? And
I never actually played this one. I always wanted to play it. I never saw it in the wild, so I never got a chance to. And I know when Ogre Battle 64 came out, I really wanted to play that one and just never found it in the wild. It was never around. So I don't know if it was just not popular enough for the rental shops by us or if it was sold out or whatever it was. But never got to play this one.
All right, we're going to take just a second. I'm going to hook her up with Mario Minecraft.
Yep.
And we're back. The next game on the list is a really hard one and a very fun one. Zombies Ate My Neighbors, also for the Super Nintendo in 1993. Darren Isaac Gove says, so challenging. John Henry McGilligan says, harder than any Dark Souls game. I
could say that I have beaten all the Dark Souls games and I have not beaten Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
That game is really hard, you know?
I've only played this game in passing maybe twice. I know what it is. I know it's beloved. I know that it's a cult classic. I never really played it. It just something about the art style never really clicked with me when I was a kid. And then by the time that I knew that it was like this gem, I'd already moved on to other things.
It is not isometric, but it is like angled at a sort of like at a tilt.
Kind of like Zelda. Like
yes. I felt like it's a little more 3D vibe than Zelda because the movement is very smooth through this game. Whereas in Zelda, it felt like, there was still a lot of angles as far as, up, down, left, right are concerned. But
they just re-released this one, actually, like a collection of this one and the second one on Switch,
which might be good to play sometime, man. Maybe we'll check it out.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. Like I said, I missed this one. I have nothing to contribute to this one besides that it could be harder than Dark Souls.
Oh, it is. Well, we'll find out for sure. When I was a kid, like if memory serves, I would say it is. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, which I think is for me definitely harder than Dark Souls. Myst, and the other. What do you call these games? The other game,
point and click
adventure puzzle game. Yeah, puzzle adventure. September 1993. Wow, this came out a lot longer ago than I remember for the PC.
Yeah.
I want to say I wrote the name Mega Alor. If it's Megan, I'm so sorry.
It's Megan, you should change your name to Mega. Just a heads up.
It's a cool name. It's a cool name. I really like these. This is Mega or Mega in. I really like these
Mega,
because of how. Yes. Sorry again, Miss Ayler. Or Mr. Oh no.
No, you made it worse.
Oh no. But sorry again, M. Ayler. All right, we're doing it. I really like these because this was one of my favorite comments though, for real. I really like these because of how impossibly hard they were. There wasn't Google to look up walkthroughs or puzzles, so I enlisted the help of my entire family to help me get through those games. And we still ended up stuck in Riven for a long time until a game guide was released and we gave up and bought it. What a cool memory though, right?
Yeah.
An experience like that, it's fantastic. When you play with your family, I think that's one of the best things about games is meeting friends and doing it together,
I've never actually played Mr. Riven. I knew that they were like super hard back in the day, and it actually seems like the kind of game that I would have enjoyed. I know that they recently re-released Myst in VR, and I was very close to picking it up. Maybe I will in the future, but it's a long game and it's a tough game. And I know myself, and I would just look at a guide. Yeah, I would get stuck, and I would look, and I think that would ruin the game.
Yeah, I think that would be. I don't think anyone would fault you. Even M. Ayler eventually went to the guide, so we're doing it. The next game is a hilarious game, and I actually thought it was a different game when it was suggested at first, but no, this is McDonald's.
Did you think it was McKids?
I thought it was McKids, which I totally played on the NES, and it's like a fever dream now. It's just a blatant ripoff of Super Mario Brothers. McDonald's Treasureland Adventure, released in December, just in time for Christmas, 1993, for the Sega Genesis and or Mega Drive.
I'm looking this one up because I've never played it.
It looks goofy, man. Like the animation is classic Genesis in that it's the sprites are fantastic. The designs look really clean, but it's Ronald McDonald in a platformer. So it was the first.
It looks like Ronald in Sonic Worlds.
It's wild, right?
Crazy.
So Ash says it was the first time renting something from Blockbuster just for myself. And you must have been a big fan of McDonald's. And power to you. I haven't played this game personally. It looks like I should definitely try though. It looks really hilarious. So.
The cover has Ronald McDonald ziplining with one hand, and it looks like Grimace is trying to pull the zip line out of the ground, thus killing Ronald McDonald. So I don't know what that's about.
The lore of McDonald's is deep. Okay, it's deeper than we ever knew. And it's all the McDonald's Treasureland Adventure lore is the Silmarillion of fast food high fantasy. Okay,
why didn't this get put on the Genesis Mini? And why? Like, if you look at this box, I don't know if you guys can see this on my phone because the light.
Oh, it's not bad.
Like
it's not bad.
This fish and this bad guy are definitely Sonic ripoffs. Like, both of those bad guys are in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, that's amazing.
To be fair, I've never played this game. I have seen pictures of it, actually has some impressive artwork for the Genesis. It looks like some of the almost like what's that game where you play as the orb dude, the green orb dude that like shoots out of his hand. That one is on Genesis Mini.
Vector Man.
Vector Man. Some of the bad guys have kind of a Vector Man-y looking effect to it. Yeah, I didn't play Genesis all that much. If you guys followed any of my other stuff, you know, I was Super Nintendo all the way. We had a Genesis. There are a few games in the Genesis that have a special place in my heart, but I was never a big Genesis fan.
Did you play the next game on the list, NBA Jam, which came out in March '94 for the Super Nintendo? Also, like a lot of platforms. This came out in arcades. And
it was on everything,
yeah.
They actually just put out a new one recently on Apple
everything.
Arcade.
Yeah, right. I want to check it out. It seems really cool. Ryan Santos says, this game innovated arcade games and pickup basketball. I don't know if I agree with the second one. I don't remember after playing NBA Jam seeing people go Monster Jam and like 360.
I remember kids were just flipping with shoes on fire all the time in my neighborhood after this game came out.
I remember like, slapping, just jumping through the hoop and just slapping and dejecting people. You know,
kids had giant heads. It was weird. It was a weird time in the 90s.
Yeah. Dude, NBA Jam is a great series, though. I
was not a big NBA Jam guy. I was more an NBA Hangtime guy on Nintendo 64. But I appreciate NBA Jam because without NBA Jam, we never would have had NBA Hangtime.
Or NFL Blitz, which I loved.
True.
Not on Blitz, this list, unfortunately. But
I love NFL Blitz. NFL Blitz, I played a ton of.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't want to digress because we got a lot of games to cover.
What's that? 40 minutes of East. Let's go.
The next game on the list is the fantastic and classic Sonic and Knuckles, specifically when it's played with Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which came out apparently in October '94. That's
Wait,
nuts.
Was that for Sonic 3 or was that for Sonic and Knuckles?
Sonic and Knuckles. Sonic and Knuckles was in '94. Gotcha. Yeah. And that was for, of course, the Genesis or Mega Drive. Leighton Perry Owen says, the huge levels and or level design, amazing platforming, sense of speed, the lock-on technology, Chaos Emeralds, Super Sonic, Ice Cap Zone, amazing soundtrack, and, of course, Knuckles.
Yeah, this game was crazy. I remember when we got it, it just was mind-blowing. Like, oh, you can just plug your game in. It made Sonic 3 so much longer. There was so much to do because you had to play the game as Sonic and Tails, then Knuckles, then just Sonic, then just Tails. The game was great, excellent music, great worlds. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm not a Sonic fan anymore. I think that there has only been one really good Sonic game since Sonic and Knuckles connected with Sonic 3. Sonic Mania. I'm not a fan of any of the 3D Sonic games. I don't think they're particularly good. But this game, if you like them, that's fine. I have nothing against people liking Sonic, 3D Sonic. But just not my cup of tea. But I really, really enjoyed this game. I remember my brothers and I played this game through like 80 times. We used to connect every other one of our Genesis games to try to unlock the orb worlds. And just had a blast with this game. It was so good. I will say that it is kind of crappy that Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3 were supposed to be one game, and they split them up because of time constraints, money constraints, and storage constraints. And that seems kind of shady to me, but I still enjoyed it as a kid.
Some might say innovative if we look at today's game releases.
That's true. Yes, the Sega blazing trails.
Oh man. The next fantastic game, also for the Genesis and Mega Drive, came out in October '94, same month. Jay Clater says Shining Force 2, which is a wonderful and very cool series. Entry into the Shining Force series is an outstanding turn-based strategy RPG. I'm too bad we don't have Dan in here with us right now. Dan is a huge fan of Shining Force. Those games, for what they could do at the time on the Genesis, it's really like, wow. Like, even compared to Final Fantasy, graphically, Shining Force looks better.
Oh yeah, it was a very beautiful game. This is another one I've never actually played. I have seen people play it. When I used to go with my dad on his like side jobs, he used to clean carpets at people's houses, and I remember we went to this one person's house and their kid was playing this game, and the kid was a little punk and wouldn't let me play the game with them, but I remember the game just looking gorgeous and really, really wanting to play it, really wanting to get into it.
Dude,
it's funny because there's a lot of these games
clean
that
carpets too, Jonna. That's crazy. As a side gig, dude.
There is a the thing that's funny is like a lot of these games that when I was a kid, I was like, oh man, I really wanted to play these ones. And I didn't. They're all strategy games, and I hate strategy games now. So maybe that's why, because I was deprived of them. Because that punk kid wouldn't share his Shining Force.
That's the linchpin to your love-hate of strategy games.
That's the moment.
If someone went back in time and was like, kid, you let this other kid who's coming over here in about 2 hours, you let him play Shining Force, you would be a huge proponent.
Imagine what my life could be now.
Best timeline. You know? The next game, March 11th, 1995, in North America for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Easily top 5, maybe top 3. In my heart, top 3 of all time. Chrono Trigger.
Yep.
We have a few lovely people who contributed this suggestion. Joseph Daniels Hall could listen to the Quarters of Time all day long. Fantastic song. I love listening to different versions of it.
We just got copyright stricken because of that.
Yeah. Like, oh,
thanks,
man.
Square Enix.
I get a knock at the door in like 5 minutes. Oh man. But for real, the soundtrack alone warrants this game being on this list 110%. Bumley says, I love seeing the changes made in the present day whenever you change the past. Yeah. Whoa, what crazy. Ryan Santos, the power mashup of legendary designers, now legendary at the time. I mean, still, I would say now even prolific. You know, you would consider these people. Unfortunately, one of the best components of the entire game is the soundtrack, and the guy who made the soundtrack is a nationalistic zealot. You know, he should have played the game and learned how that's bad. Like, but it's too bad he didn't. You know, but dang man, just everything you want from a game. The active time battle system, mind blowing. Enemies on the map, no random encounters. The sprites,
beautiful
were
artwork,
so well designed.
Awesome story, amazing music, innovative gameplay, artwork that was amazing both in the game and on the boxes.
Who was fresh off of the huge success with Dragon Ball Z, throwing his hand in there for some fantastic artwork. I got a poster right there, baby. Right there, baby. Bam! Chrono Trigger, so hot. Ooh.
I love this game. I have it. I don't know if you can see it. There's the box right there for the DS one. So I love the game. One of the best games of all time, if not the best game of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, if anybody who's watching this right now hasn't had a chance to play it and is okay with how JRPGs
or if your name is Tony, let's say randomly, and you haven't finished it, let's say that was a thing, then I would advise this random person named Tony to finish this game.
Tony, we're talking to you.
Tony, that wasn't a hypothetical. That was an actual message for you. Finish the game.
Come on, Tony. You're letting us all down here. All right. The next game on the list, I have never played, unfortunately, but there were a couple people
I have not either,
who commented that it was so great, and I have to say, it looks really cool. It's called Descent, released March 95 for the PC. Katie Maurer says, absolutely lovely. She absolutely loves it, I should say. Alistair Walsh, I love this game. And after watching some gameplay videos, I could see why. Conceptually,
it's like a mech
flying.
game?
No, you're flying. You're piloting a like a combat ship inside of a closed asteroid mining facility thing, and your objective is to shoot to kind of destroy. It's like a 3D asteroids, and there are sometimes enemies as well as you progress through the game. It looks really cool. And
yeah, I was looking at the screenshots. It's got a lot of that like early like Doom era vibes going on to it, but it looks pretty cool.
I wish we could
I've
say
never
more
played
about
it, never even heard of it.
But thank you guys so much for the suggestion. The next one on the list is Earthbound, which came out in June 95 for the Super Nintendo. Mark Bratt says, off-kilter weirdness, truly enthralling, quote, America through the eyes of Japan, quote, end quote, funny house mirror vision, but most of all, its heart. The ending was touching.
Yep. I love Earthbound. I play through Earthbound once every like 2 or 3 years because that game is fantastic. It is.
I haven't finished Earthbound on my own.
Really?
Before.
No.
I never played it start to finish.
If your name was hypothetically Victor and you had started this game, I would tell you that you should finish it.
I rented it once, and it was too difficult for me to figure out how to play at the time. I think I was just a little too young for the genre, maybe. I tried to play the NES version, but the NES version is
not like
many NES games. Sure, it's also very cryptic in what you're supposed to do. So it's even as I tried that one out in college, and
I have not finished Mother 1. Mother being the Japanese name for the series. Earthbound is Mother 2. I've beaten Earthbound and Mother 3. I have never beaten Mother 1. I own it now. It never really was released physically in North America. There was a digital release on 3DS, I believe. Maybe Switch. I think it was 3DS. And I own that one, whichever system it was on. And then I own a reproduction cart of it as well.
Like a virtual console release, you mean?
There was a virtual console release of it. Of Mother 1. I think it's called Earthbound Beginnings in English, if I'm not mistaken. But Earthbound, the original Earthbound on SNES, Mother 2, I love this game so much. It's very quirky and funny and has so much randomness to it. You know, there's parts where you're these little guys fighting dinosaurs. There's parts where you're jumping into dreams. There's parts where you're fighting as robots and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it is an excellent game. If you've never played it, play it. And it has had a huge influence on a lot of other indie games and things like that. Undertale being a huge one that was inspired by this game. So if you haven't played it, highly recommend it. The good news is that this game is very, very cheap to buy. And Nintendo loves Earthbound more than anything and is just releasing Earthbound games constantly on consoles. They can't get enough of it. If you're unaware, that is an absolute lie. Nintendo hates the Earthbound community, refuses to release Earthbound on anything.
And we're back. The next game on the list is Killer Instinct from August 1995 for the Super Nintendo. Again, Ryan Santos with a lot of great suggestions. Took fighting games to the next level with a built-in combo system. I was just saying earlier, if someone sat down next to me right now and was like, hey, you want a 1v1 Killer Instinct for, a beer or something? I would smoke them. It would be over. I wouldn't even care. I'd go full gore or, maybe Spinal. It just whatever. Pow, pow, pow.
What a great cast of characters in that game. Whoever did the character design did a great job for that game.
And the random storyline, like the writing for that game is actually very creative. It's actually hilariously creative. So, it's just really well done. It's really well done. Some of the designs look goofy, but
wasn't there a dude with like a mohawk and axes in that game?
Yeah.
Something Thunder? Is that right? Am I making that up? Was it Chief Thunder?
No.
I could be making that up. I'm looking it up right now. Let's see here. Killer Instinct. And then we're going to take a look here at the characters. Killer Instinct characters. His name was... I forget about Jago?
Chief Thunder. You're right, dude. And when you pick him...
I was right.
When you pick him, it's like, Thunder. Dude, Cinder. I loved playing.
Yeah, Cinder was cool. Fulgor was
God.
also a super cool looking character.
Yeah, yeah, it was nuts. Riptor, which is a pit fighter turned Velociraptor. Okay.
Glacius.
TJ
Glacius and Cinder were just palette swaps, weren't they? They had different moves.
No.
But they
They were not palette swaps, dude. Glacius had ice arms, and Glacius's combo breaker is the best because he just backs up and goes like bam, and like Terminator 2 T-1000 just stabs you, dude.
All these characters, Riptor, these were cool characters, man.
They are cool.
They knew what they were doing.
Yep,
they knew what they were doing,
and I thank them for it. Actually, the one released on I think it was the Xbox 360 version of Killer Instinct, which you can still maybe play on Game Pass today.
I think you can.
Yeah, they have the KI Gold or an updated version. That game is actually a really great fighting game altogether, mechanics-wise. The Super Nintendo version, one of the things about it, it had an auto combo system. So you would do like a finish move input, like a fatality, for example, and then your character would just combo them to death. And it would give you like ultra. It's like, you would do like a 45 hit combo.
I remember it feeling very cool when you played that game. We didn't own that one, but we rented it a lot. And I remember we would go to Toys R Us just to play the demo that was set up in the aisle for video games. It was really cool.
I got it because it's a black cart, and I believe Rare made it, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, sure. You don't have to.
I'll check.
Okay, I'll turn it off for you.
Double check that we're not giving you guys false info, but I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Yeah. I'm 100%. It is Rare.
Yes. Yes, Rare.
Midway developed the arcade version, and it looks like Nintendo also slapped their sticker on the Super Nintendo version.
Approved.
How nice of them. Yeah. Killer Instinct came out, what was it? Like 9 months before Resident Evil for the PlayStation. That's crazy.
Yeah, that timeline seems weird.
Yeah, right? Steven Brigadero says, my older brothers played it and I would just sit and watch because I was terrible at it. The zombies made me panic every time, so I just died. The zombie dogs definitely freaked me out every time because they were so fast. Yeah, man, zombie dogs, you could go ahead and miss me with them zombie dogs. Those things were a pain.
Reason why it was hard to be good at this game is because tank controls are garbage. And we're a relic of the past that I'm glad we've left behind now. But I do think that game, Resident Evil, was a game that, like, when it came out was just mind-blowing. Because there was really nothing that had ever captured that kind of feel, that kind of depth, this kind of world before. My older brother is a huge fan of the Resident Evil games. I have only played Resident Evil 5 and 6, which I know people largely
that's so
consider
crazy.
the worst
That's
one.
Crazy to me, man. That's crazy to me, John.
But,
you never even played 4, which is...
Nope. I own 4. I think I own 3
copies
copies of Resident Evil 4, to be honest, but I've never played it. I have played Resident Evil 1. I got about halfway through it, and then I quit. Just because I hate tank controls more than almost anything. But the game is really cool. I've seen the whole game through because my older brother basically would speed run this game when we were kids. He'd be like, oh, I've got like 40 minutes. Guess I'll play through all of Resident Evil 1. I don't know if that was the actual time or not, but he was quick at it. So, yeah, good game. Not a Jonathan game, but I can appreciate it from a distance.
Game that came out just
through the window.
Just 2 months after the fantastic original Resident Evil with live action Star Team infiltrating and getting wrecked by the T-Virus. Super Mario RPG. May 96 for the Super Nintendo. Ryan Santos and Kyle Hudzik had this to say. Ryan says, Nintendo giving up its baby's license to a third party and making it amazing. Oh yeah, joint venture and Thanks a lot, PlayStation, for ruining that for all of us. We all have Paper Mario, whatever. Kyle Hudzik says graphics are way better than anything the Super Nintendo had up until that point, and just a really fun game to play. Who doesn't like a Final Fantasy type game, but with Mario characters? The answer is only terrible people. That's the answer. This game is everything, man. It's also hilarious.
Yeah. I would say, like, if you gave me the list of the top 10 RPGs of all time, Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, and Mario RPG, all Super Nintendo games, late Super Nintendo games, would all be on that list because they are amazing games. Mario RPG is just a masterpiece. I honestly cannot think of a single thing I would change in that game. I love it to bits. I play it every once in a while. Actually, my Super Nintendo, which you guys can't see from here, has it in it right now. I own 2 copies of this game. That's how much I love it. And it's a game that I go back to time and time again, just because it's not that long to beat it, and it's just a great, easy play. It's fun. It's fun. Charming. Everything about it is fantastic. If you have not played this game, play it.
You can play it. You can grind it if you want to, and it doesn't feel too tedious. It's completely unnecessary because the pacing of the game is set up to where you can pretty much... There are a couple tricks to beating some of the bosses, for example, but it's fairly forgiving in that it tells you through text clues and context how to defeat each enemy. So as long as you're kind of paying attention, as a child, I didn't have a lot of trouble with this game, but it was still challenging, So as an adult, of course, like you said, it's just really fun. The character design is great. They're silly. There's some comedy to it. Just graphically, as both Ryan and Kyle say, it just looks fantastic. It's from Super Nintendo.
Still holds up. Holds up all these years later.
And I don't know about you, but every JRPG I've played since, it's really hard for me not to try to time attack any move. I'm like, press A again when I'm going to hit. It's like, it doesn't do anything in this game. But it might, right? It might.
Yeah, if it was good, it would.
Thanks so much for watching and listening to this episode. This list is so massive, we have to make it a 2-parter, and we will be back next week with part 2 of the best games of the 90s.
Yep, see you then.
A huge thanks again to everyone who contributed to the discussion. We will see you next week.